it's known that Dostoevsky's own contemporaries were uneasy. They were a little queasy about the fact that Jesus is a silent figure. They wondered, does he have no words? Can he not rebut the inquisitor? He does only one thing. He kisses the inquisitor. Just as after Ivan's outcry against the horrors of the world, against the torture of children, Alyosha kisses him, as if a kiss, not words, a kiss were the only commensurate thing to respond to the evil of the world. And I want you to think about this debate between the Grand Inquisitor, who understands so much of human motivation and human need and human frailty, and Jesus, who says nothing, but only kisses him. People, some critics have, I think, very provocatively suggest that we almost see here two figures, Tolstoy and Dostoevsky. One figure who understands the world we live in, the secular world we live in, the human motivation that takes place in that world, and who feels that one has to caretake this world. One has to be a shepherd for people in this world, not for the afterlife. And then the other figure, Dostoevsky, the nightmarish figure, the figure who has none of the solidity of Tolstoy, who looks instead into the depths. Complicating things still further about Ivan is that, as I already suggested, he is going to learn from Smerdyakov that the murder was in some dreadful way committed in his behalf, Ivan's behalf. That it was committed as a kind of embodiment of Ivan's own view that if there is no God, everything might be permitted. The consequences of this conversation, in which he realizes his own implication in it, the fact that he himself is somehow a silent partner in this murder, those consequences, those ramifications are fascinating because I think it spells the end of the hegemony of selfhood. Ivan, who has not done anything factually, realizes that he's nonetheless a murderer, symbolically, implicitly, perhaps libidinally. He discovers what Conrad was to call secret sharing. He discovers a kind of collusion. We know that 19th century literature has a lot of instances of doubles, Jekyll and Hyde and things like that, but this goes further. It's not just the doubles in you, it's the possibility that other people's actions are also your actions. Here is a sense of human responsibility that is very difficult to measure and that Ivan lurches into, and it destroys him. Alyosha is the novel's positive figure, the lover of mankind, Dostoevsky calls him. Some critics, many readers I think, find him the least compelling of the brothers. In some ways, he is also one of the most necessary figures in the book. He is the open ear and the decent heart. He is almost a kind of sponge who soaks up all of the horrors that come his way. And I put it that way because Dostoevsky's world is a world in which horrors must out. It's as if people must speak of the terrible things that they feel or the terrible things that they have thought. And therefore you need an Alyosha who is there to hear this. Sometimes the only response, as I've said, is a kiss. He loves his family, Alyosha does, but he worships the elder Zosima, who is the rival father in this book of many fathers. Zosima is the figure of true spiritual love. He is the figure who has a kind of sanctity in this book. And there's no question but that Alyosha worships him. Moreover, Dostoevsky offers us something of the career of Zosima, like an insert. And we understand how this man came to his own faith. We understand this man's humility. Early in the book, there's this beautiful sequence, very early, before we really know what's going on, where Zosima bows deeply to Dmitri. It's a bow of great humility. It's also a bow that seems to suggest that Zosima knows that Dmitri is a man on the breaking point who might be willing to commit murder. Zosima seems to sense what is boiling inside of the people that he sees. He loves Alyosha. It's not just that Alyosha worships him. He loves Alyosha, in part because Alyosha reminds him of his own dead brother. And that career is also traced by Dostoevsky. That Markel, the brother, is the figure in the novel. He's a figure who's very shadowy in some ways. We scarcely see him, Nonetheless, he's the figure in the novel who offers us the most luminous imagery of what paradise might be like.